Welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Venture Capital. I'm Sydney Wong, I'll be your host, and today we have Santiago. Santiago, welcome, and please tell us a little bit about your startup.
Thank you, Sydney. Hi to everybody hearing this podcast. I'm Santiago Monca, CEO of On the Move Lighting Solution for the customer that is already moving in the public transport system around the cities. So we will hope to measure the time and make it everything easier and faster for the customer. I'm a lawyer, business manager with LLM intellectual property. For the last 10 years, I have been working in corporate law and corporate finance with my partner as well. And in the last year and a half, we have been developing RaschGO. RaschGO is a new solution for the customers, a marketplace that will be ready soon for them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And so now I'm going to share the screen and we're going to get to look at his pitch deck. Do you see your pitch deck?
No, it's charging already. Okay, we got it.
Now you got it?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So let's see what this is about. Okay, so this is how I would normally be reading through the pitch deck to see what kind of due diligence we would be doing first. Coming from an industry agnostic background at the very early stage, these are the kinds of questions I would normally be asking any kind of startup, whether it's our investment or investments through our different partners. So
Thank you.
They start off by telling me what the key problems are. Awesome, good. So key problems include problems. Okay, well.
Okay.
Let's go through it. All right, so time constraints. So many people have limited time to sit down meals, okay, during workday. That is true. Or appointments in between, and finding a suitable restaurant, waiting for a table. Food services can be time consuming. Okay, that makes sense. Costs. So frequent food delivery orders can add up. Yes, with additional fees and markups on menu prices. That is correct. I did also notice how much more food delivery costs are now on top of their menu and on top of the delivery fee versus if you just get it directly from the restaurant. So there's a lot of add-ons for sure, and this is really addressing that. So delivery delays. While food delivery services exist, yes, they often are associated with unpredictable delays due to traffic. Interesting. If you can solve traffic, I feel like you can solve a much bigger problem. Restaurants, preparation times, and other factors. Okay, great. Inflexibility. Existing solutions may not adapt to consumers' location, schedule, or immediate dining needs, limiting inconvenience. Okay, yeah. Quality and freshness. So even with delivery, consumers may receive food that is not as fresh as they would prefer. That's so interesting. I mean, I can see how that's true. I just have never read that in like a DoorDash or Uber Eats review that this is not fresh enough. I can see that being a problem, though, leading to subpar dining experience. Yes. Do you have someone else coming in?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
I was just waiting for you to read so I can.
No. I got a notification, and I think that someone else is trying to get into our room. It's okay.
No.
Empty tables. Okay. I'm guessing because you couldn't find a table icon, like you give me a chair icon. Restaurants face empty tables that don't cover the operative costs. Yes, that makes sense because they're paying so much for rent that is not actually being used. All right, so the first thing I see is this is different than what I'm used to. I see more than one problem instead of one gigantic problem. So let's see why this founder has done this. RaschGO, the solution. Yes, okay. So delivery costs deleted. Wow, delivery is free. Why is it free? So cost reduction, that customers will be able to purchase more products. Okay, bring customers back to the tables. So we'll be able to go back to the restaurants and fill, because they're at the restaurant, that's why. App is adapted to the customer location and arrival time. Interesting. So it's kind of like the app knows when you're arriving. And so it is adjusting your reservation time. So then you don't have to wait and the restaurant kind of already knows, I presume. No intermediary. Yes, that makes sense because you're not paying for delivery. Yes. Always fresh and proper. Well, yes, because it came from the restaurant. Otherwise, it's a different kind of problem due to this probably restaurant. Avoiding wait time. So customers will take advantage of their moving time and avoid long lines. Yeah, I'm guessing it's because they are adjusting to the mode of transportation and they'll kind of have like a Waze-like technology to know why they're in delay or in traffic or something. Okay. So synergy with public transportation systems and local governments. Okay, interesting. So it seems like they decided to not go with the incumbent, which is probably Waze, Google Maps, those kinds of things, and go with actually doing partnerships with the different local government and public transportation system. Let's find out why. Alliances with 7 different countries, governments and public transport to implement the app. Okay, distance and measure, full-time measure to the distance, destination, point and measure. Okay, POS systems. So point of sale integration. All right, I think that other reservation apps also have the similar POS system and automation. Dynamic catalog, so catalog products and commerce, ordering product. So I presume that they are either using a way to scrape the menus and information from websites, or the restaurants themselves have to like manually upload things onto the app like they did for other reservation platforms. And some of them did it successfully and some of them did it not successfully at all. And so your experience from one reservation app to the other was very different because some of them just didn't have any menus. They just tell you to go on another website. So the user experience is kind of odd. So if I were to invite the founder back, I would just ask like a bit more about how they're onboarding these different partners, who in this case would be the restaurants. Arrival time and measure. So full-time customer, arrival time with a constant update. Okay, I don't know what a full-time customer is. I think everybody's a full-time customer. Constant update to commerce and simplify and accelerate the delivery process. Okay, yeah, that makes sense because they're just going there themselves. Operational cost reduction, so POS, cost and operational reduction and decrease of workers' requirements. Yes, so that does make sense. They are seemingly, presumably there is an extra step where if they are adjusting for travel time or traffic or things like that, then it does actually cause the workers at the restaurant to be checking the system a lot more. They have to kind of go back and forth. I presume the system is on one particular app, kind of like near their cache or something. They don't really have it with them all the time. So I don't know if this is reducing the operational cost, but it is reducing the cost in terms of that they're not taking phone reservations for like, I'm coming now, which is how I make reservations. I'm coming in 7 minutes. I am not a good customer. So market size in the US, EU, and ME. Okay, great. Love this. Always love these slides because they're usually the first ones with numbers. So, okay, there are so many. Okay, let's start with this one. 750.48 billion. So this is the United States, the EU, and the Middle East. TAM, market food delivery. TAM food delivery apps. It's so interesting. So why would the startup be using the TAM of food delivery, which is a growing market, and it's a huge CAG? From my research, because I did a similar research on an adjacent market before, it was not this high. It was not 10.9%. So I would question that and look it up again. It was a one that was only based in the US, to be fair, not all 3. So I want to make sure that the founder is finding an average of the growth rate for each of these areas and not adding them together, because that's not how you do it. So as long as those numbers check out, that's fine. But my question is, if this is being, if you're bringing customers back to the table, then that is a different market than if you were removing food delivery. So I would question that, but perhaps if I go further down into the slide deck, it will give me a little bit more information as to why they're choosing this as their market for research. Okay, so here, 577.2. So this is the US, EU, and Middle East grocery delivery apps. Yes, but grocery stores are now only being brought in to the storyline, and here is a meal delivery. So I can see them trying to expand into different markets, probably, but it's only brought into the storyline here and not anywhere else. So I'm not able to make a very direct connection other than the very first one at this moment, but maybe they will tell me how these are secondary or third markets that they want to explore and why. It does make sense in terms of the numbers that they want to explore this one first. But again, I don't know that using food delivery market is the correct way to go about it. So let's find out more. Okay, white collar customers. White collar customers. All right, so this is their demographic and psychographic. So that, which is fantastic. It means that they have done the whole personification of the user, which is always really great. Gender, male and female, employees and students, single and married. Okay, well, they have a minimum income level. All right, so following here on the link of the map, modification, paste, new delivery. Okay. All right, maximum, medium, and minimum. What is confusing here is what is the black? I guess this is the one markets that are not being pursued because it's not one of the first three. I don't see any purple in this map. Usually if there's like a map like this and there's like a color legend, then all the colors should be on this map. But maybe this map is very tiny and I just can't see it. But I don't see it. Okay, so I will ask later. It says click here for more information. Yes, and it is clickable. I hate things that says click here and then they're not clickable at all. That doesn't help me. What I would do is actually make this a little bit more narrow. So if you want to have white collar customers, so people who work in white collar jobs, right? They are not students because students are students. It's a separate demographic. And they have a different income level than white collar customers. And you can also, you don't have to separate male and female. This is an enormous age range. This age range, I presume that they are believing it's the people that have the biggest pain point in accordance to the pain point that has been stated at the beginning. Is it this demographic that has the biggest pain point? This 25-year range, yes or no? And then single and married people. So again, you don't have to write this in, but if you want to, that's fine. Income level is a very good one. You have a minimum income level. I don't know if there really is a maximum income level where it's to the point that this is not as interesting to them anymore, or they're not into this kind of technology or something like that. That's really for them to tell me more about. Users on the move around the city. Okay, users with a product consumption need with no waiting time available. Users that doesn't find in the market a fast, convenient solution. Oh, okay, I see what you're trying to say. All right. Okay, so market fit. How have you done your market fit? So 7+ alliances to implement this. Okay, so you have permission from 7 different governments. That's great. And it looks like they're also helping you with access to public transportation information and those kinds of things. What level of information I would be really interested in if you're not using, like I said, open source ones like Google and those kinds in terms of just having it as a plugin. The reason is because I want to know what you are doing in terms of real-time data, right? So if you get information from public transportation, then you are getting like schedules of public transportation. But how do you know when one transport stops or when somebody jumps in the metro or when there's like a whole bunch of snow that piles up so the bus doesn't run? So this is information that Waze has, which is why Waze is worth $1 billion and why Google Maps bought Waze, right? Because they needed to buy that crowdsourcing information. So I would challenge and say, okay, you have great government alliances and they're giving you information and access to their public transport information, but how is it as up to date and in real time as possible? What is it that you're doing that is showing us that it is very accurate and very convenient for the users? Or are the users able to put and feed in information themselves? And if so, how are you using that? So, and then maybe they are using Google and it just doesn't say that anywhere. I'm not sure. So MVP cities under development. All right, so that makes sense. So they are doing it city at a time, which makes a lot of sense. So, you know, Uber Eats did their entire testing in Toronto to test out for 1 year, you know, whether Uber Eats was going to work or not. And what's really funny was that, like, I did have a friend who wanted to order from Uber Eats because it was a new cool thing, and then found out that it was a bunch of drivers driving around like 4 vegetable ramens around to see if people would just buy them in the financial district. And I'm like, this is a weird model. So it took like a year of really understanding if this market is going to work and why. So they chose a particular city in a particular country that had a concentration amount of people, that had a people within a certain amount of income and demographic and psychographic. So this that they were looking for in order to use that as their test city. And it wasn't even in one of their major headquarters cities. It was Toronto, Canada, where Uber was fairly new at. And yeah, and so it took about 1 year to do that kind of testing. So I would dig into these questions with this startup about how RaschGO is doing their testing and why they chose these two particular cities and what kind of development they're learning, because what you're learning and iterating is really important at this time. 1,000 plus B2B advanced e-commerce acquisitions. I don't know what this means. It sounds like this startup bought 1,000 acquired companies, which would be amazing. Okay, I will ask later. This sounds incredible though. Okay, so business model. Yes, excellent. So 5 to 10% of sales commission. Okay, great. So that's already lower than Uber Eats, which is like 30%. So that's amazing how you're able to get it that low. It would probably mean that you're able to penetrate the market really, really well from those who are getting a lot of deliveries and everything, because your price point is like 1/3 of that or even less. 1.5% inside sales, the POS system. Okay, so that seems, if I'm correct, seems to be roughly the same as if you use a reservation app or so, which is about $1 per click. And that's if you are taking that, again, taking that kind of market share away as well. Advertising sales, that makes sense. Data analytics and marketing development. Okay. Low income creation and high income create. Oh, I think you mean low income creation. Yeah, okay. And then high competitive strength, low competitive strength. All right, this sounds good. I would like to also just understand, because, I mean, it depends on how far along these are, but how much is an average order? It would give me an idea of what I'm looking for in the city, right? And what your targets are in the city. So competitors. So now it looks like you guys are going back to competing with food delivery, because there's only food delivery here. So that's what I'm presuming. And they chose two that I believe they can find public information on. So very good. I would do that too. I would choose those with as much public information as possible in order to do my research. So focus customer on the move around the city. Yes, that is true. The other delivery apps focus on people who are sitting on their couches. That's their target. Fresh and proper food. Yes, that is correct. I'm not sure you can say that Uber Eats and I think Skip is not delivering fresh and proper food, unless you can prove that. Maybe you can. Maybe you have more research. Measuring customer distance and arrival time. Okay, great. That's true. That's supposed to be unique to your technology. I would still like to know how you're doing that. Delivery costs is taken away because you're making people go back to the restaurant, so the tables are not empty, which was one of the pain points. POS system integration, yes, easy to implement around the world. Okay, I would question that for all three, but that's just because I know Uber and Skip and other delivery apps have spent so much R&D money to try and penetrate other markets for a variety of different reasons, including legal. And then other markets have tried to copy what they were doing and really nationalize it, right? So in Vietnam, it would be Grab. In China, it would be Didi. So they just tried to nationalize everything for themselves and then rebranded it in a different way, being like, oh, Uber is not going to work here because we have our own this, and this, and it does all of these deliveries anyway. So I would like to see how RaschGO is going to be defensible against that when they enter other markets. So what they're looking for, good, you have an ask slide. Surprising amount of people do not have an ask slide. So 500,000 US dollars, okay. Looking for the sales enforcement with a $5 million valuation. Okay, so that's interesting. So if you're looking to raise in the US market, and well, US and Canadian market, it is at this time between 15 and 30% dilution per round. So it would be, so this is only 10%. So when I say 15 to 30, just kind of adjust that on your expectations, because I would feel like this startup might get pushback if they don't know that beforehand. All right, founders. Oh, okay. There's more slides. Okay. Okay. Usually the ask slide is like the last slide. Okay, so founders, Miguel and Santiago, who we have here today. So they are lawyers and engineers, and together we have developed and created business models for various industries. Great. I would like to know which ones. You don't have to tell me exactly which ones. You can just tell me logos of ones that you've worked with that are very notable or related to this industry. So then I know you have a lot of experience in this industry, specifically food direct to customer. Awesome. There's a way to contact you. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Santiago. And I would love to hear how you feel and if you can address some of my questions.
No, perfectly, Sydney. It was a pleasure listening to you, getting to our pitch deck. Normally, those questions are pretty normal and help us a lot doing this work and going to the market. So, if you want, we can continue and we will explain everything for you.
Okay, so my first one, please tell me. I think this is the first time I've seen this, to have 6 problems in one slide. Why didn't you just choose one problem in one slide and make it easier?
Well, we figured out that the market has different problems right now, and it was just one easy way to avoid all of them and to solve all of them. And RaschGO is that solution. It's not like six different problems. It's one combined problem that has 6 different heuristics, or 6 different ways to approach it. So it's all combined, and it's the problem that is facing right now the customer. It's the problem that is facing right now the restaurants that are being the market. So we figured out that RaschGO could be that solution. It's just one click for us and for them. So,
okay.
For example,
users and you have customers, right?
Excuse me?
You have users and you have customers.
Yes, that's true.
Right. So who are your users?
Our main user our main user are the restaurants and the B2B. That's our partner in this section. And the final customer is the one that is already buying the food, that it has the food consumption need in the market.
Okay. So the person with the food consumption need, that's usually where the massive problem is going to come in. I would advise you to put more of an emphasis on the macro problem that you are experiencing, in terms of, this is how much money is being lost. This is how many people are starving. This is how much safety is in play. This is, so make a problem seem like it's numerically very large.
Okay, got it. We figured out that 5 of the 6 problems that we find, it's for the final customer, all of them, time constraints, quality and freshness, cost, and flexibility, all are related to final customer. Just empty table is the one that is related to the B2B partner.
Let me give you an example. Okay, so when I was an investor judge at Alibaba's competition in Hong Kong, there was a startup that created a traffic app. It was kind of like Google Maps thing, but for traffic, and it was very specific to their region. So they told me not just that, oh, people hate traffic. They have a lot of time constraints. They're delayed of where they're going, and their quality of life is worse, which is all true, but it's not relatable for a judge like myself, because I don't live in Southeast Asia. I live here in North America. So when we have traffic in Canada, sometimes it's like 4 cars in front of us. And I'm like, there's so much traffic, but that's peanuts compared to what other people actually face in life. You know what I mean? So to tell me in a way that is relatable, they explain the problem as, there are people who lose 2 weeks of their lives to traffic. And then in some parts of Southeast Asia, they lose 2 years of their lives in traffic where their car is stopped. And immediately my heart stopped beating, because I understood the problem, because it was a magnitude so high that I can feel it in my bones. And it was something that, even if I can't imagine it because it never happened to me, I can relate to it as an investor, because I understand the magnitude of that problem. So that's what I want you to make us feel in this slide.
Okay, got it. It's it's pretty well. Like I guess we will use it for sure. It's
Okay.
for example the time constraint or the delivery cost that we can measure it. That's
You can
for
measure
sure.
all of these things you can measure. You just didn't tell me, but I would
Yeah,
like
that's
you
true.
to tell me. Okay, great. And then in terms of the RaschGO solution, okay, so because you gave me this and then you gave me this, it feels like you had a solution with many features, and then you told me what each of the problems were for each of the features, not the other way
Yeah.
around.
Okay, that's true. Okay, for example, because added like the second problem that you find, we delete the delivery cost. That goes straight to that one. Bringing back customers to the tables, our main focus is for the customer that is already moving around the city. So the purpose is the customer could buy for takeout or dining before their arrival to a destination point. So our purpose is to bring back the customers to the table, fill the tables for the restaurants as well. So that's why we will figure out that problem and we will solve that problem with.
Okay, so if you want to bring
Um
the customers back to the table, then I would not use this as my target market.
okay, yeah, that could be useful. We use that as a target market because it's the actual market that is being measured and it has a real aesthetics that it's going to be useful for us. They
Yes,
are
it's easy to
the main
find, correct.
competitors. Is it
But
right?
that's
Yeah.
not related to your problem that you're trying to solve. If your problem is, hey, we want to get those people who are getting home deliveries when they're by themselves playing video games on a Sunday night, but we want to make them go back to the table. First, do they want to go back to the table? Do they want to put on pants? And is this a really big pain point for that customer, right? So tell me more about who this pain point is for, and then tell me about that market for that customer. Because it's not the food delivery market customer, it just seems like this is information that you were able to find easily. Yes, great. But it may not be as related as it seems like it should be here and here. Okay?
Okay, got it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Unless
that's
you're
true.
like, we're creating a drone that's going to be better in food delivery than anybody else, then this is your correct TAM. Then I completely believe you. Similar comments for your other two, right? Just
Yeah, it's the
adjust
same
the
thing from
two to who it's really going to be for, right? And then those who are going to be sitting at the table, are they sitting there alone? Are they sitting there because it's Instagrammable? Are they sitting there, if they're really hungry, or are they sitting there because there was a special promotion on a Wednesday? Who are the people that are going back to the restaurants and why? So if you're telling me, okay, they're going to be the lunch rush, white collar workers, okay, and it's going to be affecting first the restaurants that are closest to them physically versus the ones that are really far away in the mountain, in the woods somewhere, then you're going to have to just give me a lot more kind of specific information. Okay. When are they going to these restaurants? Is it at night? Is it the beginning? I can tell you that my last few restaurant experiences were such a bust because I didn't know they were only open in the mornings and I really wanted to go. So that was my problem. But I don't know if that's their problem as well, right? Like, why aren't they getting the customers in those seats at those particular times of the day that they really want to? So tell me more and then
well.
write it down.
Okay, for example, we figured out in New York the regular customer at office at in Middletown and downtown in the city has just 30 minutes for lunch, for
Yes.
example.
Yeah.
They spend 30 minutes getting to a restaurants, making a line, making the order, and waiting for the food to be served. So they're not able to have the time to eat. So what they prefer to ask by those delivery apps because they have not enough time, so they will be save time instead of paying more and getting not proper food for them. So that's our main customer. Like this customer that doesn't have enough time for taking lunch for them, so they could order by RaschGO and just arrive to the restaurant, eat it there, proper, fresh, and in their convenience time instead of waiting for a or paying more for a delivery or waiting in their office to eat it at the office in a, and that comfortable space.
So it
So
seems like
that's for
time
example.
is your biggest problem that you want to focus on a little bit more because you keep going back to that. And I need to know more about how much that is affecting them going to these restaurants or not going to these restaurants, right? And does your app actually explain, okay, if you order this, it's going to take this much time. If you order this, it's going to take this much time. Does it have an estimated time for arrival or not? And the reason I asked you that.
Actually, it is different. For example, if you go from your place to
Mhm.
your office every day, so you just get into RaschGO and say, I'm going to this place. Like my office is in Times Square. I don't know. And you're starting at Wall Street. So you take a train to Times Square. It will measure how much time do you take to arrive. And it will show you, okay, you have 30 minutes to arrive. And then it will show you all the places available in 30 minutes when you arrive. If you change your arrival time, if you say like, no, I'm not going to start in Wall Street, I will start in Brooklyn, so it will measure that it's going to be 40 minutes. Those 40 minutes will change all the menu for you and say all are the menus that are available for you to be ready when you arrive, even for checkout or dine-in. That's the main solution. Like imagine you moving from one point to another point. You're just moving because you're going to work, you're going to an appointment, you're going to have a day with someone. Doesn't matter. Like you're already moving the city. It will measure your starting point, your destination point, the distance that you have, and the time that you're going to take, even if you're going by public transport system, bicycle, walking, or driving a car. It will measure the time exactly that you have to arrive in order to show you all the available menu that you will receive when you arrive just on time. If there are places that take 40 minutes, but you just only have 30 minutes, it won't show you the place that have 40 minutes. It will show you that you can buy it, but you will have to wait 10 minutes for them.
Okay, so you do have cooking time or you don't have cooking time?
We do have cooking time measure. So,
Okay.
for example, if you purchase, I don't know, a latte take 2 minutes to cook, for example, but you have 15 minutes to arrive. So you can buy it, but the order is going to be placed, accepted by the restaurant, but the order to cook is going to be in the last 3 minutes before your arrival, because it always has to be fresh and proper for you when you arrive,
No,
even for takeout or
I
dine in.
understand that part. I just think that when you are coming out with, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but this is the last thing I will tell you. When you come out with anything, it has to be 5 times better than what's already on the market, not just 1 time better. Okay. So you have to come up with things that have all of these, like you do have a lot of different features, but it has to be very clear cut as to what they're trying to address in terms of the pain point and the size of the market and who it's for. But then it has to be 5 times better than what already exists. So let's just say Google Map, and then make that very, very clear on your competitor slide, which you also need to change because this is not your competitor. It's a different thing. Okay. So like 5 times better than what is currently existing. So let's say it's a Google Map in terms of open now restaurants and things like that. It does not include all of the restaurants. It includes some of them that are on Google, so on and so forth. They have to have a presence. But how is this 5 times better than what we're currently going to be using, which is not the delivery app? So I would change this to make it much more outstanding, if that makes sense. Sounds good?
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Santiago, for joining us. And thank you for coming on to another episode of Unlocking Venture Capital. Until next week, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Sydney. Bye bye.